Hey everyone, so today I'm finally filming an ACL update, journey, experience video. This is just gonna kind of be all-encompassing, and basically I realized I made a video like, I tore my ACL, boo-hoo, I need surgery, and then it's like, oh, here's my surgery vlogs, and then fast forward to like me doing SoulCycle and running, and everyone's just kind of like, what? And especially those of you that have been through it or are going through it now or will go through it, like I just want to kind of fill in the gap and just tell you like my whole experience, my journey, what I went through, where I am now, and yeah, just kind of like catch up for a sec. So I know this will probably end up being all over the place because that's how I am, but I wrote down a note on my phone, kind of like a little guideline of getting me through it. And I feel like the #1 question, like when you have ACL reconstruction surgery, is like the timeline after. And I just remember being so focused on it being like Max and Taylor, because they both tore their left ACL as well, had surgery. So I'd always be like, well, when can I walk normal again? When will I stop limping? When will this stop hurting? When will I be full range of motion? Like I just had so many questions, and they would be like, we don't even remember, like we're so far past it. And now I sort of understand that, because today I'm 19 weeks post-op, so that is almost 5 months. Which is so insane to me because it feels like yesterday, and it feels like yesterday that I was filming the video in February. I tore my ACL, and so it's just so crazy to look back at that and to where I am now. But yeah, I just want this to be like a resource for you guys if God forbid you have to go through it, because it's really tough, but I know you can get through it like I have, and everybody does get through it. So let's start off with, I wrote down what I wish someone told me. So like right as I tore my ACL, I'm trying to think to myself like what I wish someone told me in that moment and leading up to surgery, because quite honestly, right before surgery, I remember being more upset, stressed, anxious about the whole thing than any other part of the process. Afterwards, I was just kind of like, okay, post-op, it's only up from here. But before surgery, I was just so nervous. I was like, I don't even want it. I know it's gonna hurt so bad, da da da. So what I wish someone told me is, it's going to be okay. You will get through it. Like I promise you will. Everybody's recovery timeline is different. Everybody's different. For Taylor, it took so much longer than me. I will get into it, but I feel like I was just so blessed in the whole process and had quite easy recovery as compared to like my friends, Max, Taylor, Abby, like so many of my friends just had a harder time than me. So it really, you know, depends person to person, but I promise you will get through it. And I think personally a positive mindset is very helpful, and I just kind of feel like that about everything in life. And obviously only to like some extent, I was like, Gretchen, if you are really positive, maybe you can run sooner than 3 months, but like you can't. Like it's only gonna help so much, but I still think it goes a long way. And you telling yourself like, I can do it, I know I'm gonna feel better, like pain is temporary type of thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I remember Max had these cute little motivational quote books for when he was going through ACL, because it's just such a tricky injury. I never knew about it until it happened to me, but it's basically like tearing your ACL, which is a ligament, is a lot different than breaking a bone, because that's something I wrote also that I wish someone told me. In my mind, everyone's saying ACL like recovery is like 6 to 9 months to be normal again, but really it's like 2 years until your ACL is completely healed in your knee, and it actually becomes even stronger than the ACL in your other knee. That's why ACL tear is like such a common thing. But I wish someone told me that for the 6 to 9 months, it's not going to be like in a cast, like you broke your ankle on crutches. It's not like that. It's just weird because you lose the crutches and the brace pretty early on in the recovery. It's just such a long recovery getting back to normal, because a ligament is something that heals so much differently than a bone. And yeah, it's just really bizarre. Like for me, it was okay because I wasn't trying to get back into a sport. So I wasn't like rushing through my recovery or feeling like really like I was missing out on that much, because I could quickly biking is like the best thing you can do, which worked out really well in my case because that's like my favorite way to work out. And I remember the day I found out I tore my ACL, I cried just because I was gonna miss SoulCycle. So I got pretty lucky in that part, in that I didn't feel like I was out of my normal activity for too long. But I know for someone who plays ice hockey like Max, or Taylor who likes to run like crazy, or if you play lacrosse or like field hockey or soccer, like you're kind of out of commission for longer just because it's a lot more stress on your knee, like pivoting, that type of thing you can't do for a while. But back to what I was saying, I wish someone told me that it's like a different kind of recovery. It's like kind of like a constant ongoing pain that you learn to deal with. That sounds really bad. I'm not trying to scare you. Like right now, it doesn't hurt. Me sitting here, it doesn't hurt. But I'm also 5 months post-op, so. Okay, that's what I wish someone told me. I wish someone told me you'll come out of it stronger. You really will. And for someone like me, I would say I wasn't that good with like discipline before. So I wrote down, if you didn't have discipline before, you will after ACL surgery, or at least I did, because I just took physical therapy so seriously, and I still do to this day. I'm nowhere close to being done. I'm only 5 months post-op. I just had physical therapy for my knee about an hour or two ago, and especially in the beginning, I took it so seriously because I knew how bad my knee was feeling, and so I was like, okay, I'm here and I want to be here and I want my knee to get better, and like the way for me to get there is physical therapy. And I know that's just like, you know, ball in my court type of thing, and anybody that I talked to about ACL surgery recovery was like, the only thing people say is, oh, I wish I took physical therapy more seriously. So I was like, okay, I am. That was my main priority for the first couple weeks especially. I just didn't miss a day of physical therapy. I only met with my physical therapist like 3 times a week just because of the way my insurance worked out with how many visits they could cover, whatever. I remember in the beginning it was 3 times a week, but every other day I was just doing it on my own, had exercises to do at home, and it was really frustrating. I remember in the beginning crying all the time because it was just so frustrating and I just wanted to be better like right now. But it's just something that takes a lot of time, so it taught me a lot of discipline and patience. Oh, I wrote down, things will feel different, but that's okay. Like, I wish someone told me that. You tore your ACL and you're gonna have surgery and it's not gonna feel the same for a really long time. It'll probably always feel different, but like that's okay. And now I run and it feels different and kind of weird, kind of freaky. Definitely not the same as my right knee, but not painful, and it's okay. And I'm like learning to deal with it and finding my new normal, if that makes sense. So yeah, I also wish that someone told me, yeah, it's more of just like an annoying pain and like weakness overall. Oh, and I wish someone told me, for me specifically at least, TKEs, a specific exercise, are the best. Like, they'll always make you feel better. And whenever I was like angry or frustrated, my knee was hurting and I was like, oh, I just don't want it to hurt anymore, I would rip out a million TKEs and feel a lot better. So that's just what I wish someone told me. Okay, let's get into like the whole experience. We're like 8 minutes into this video. So, surgery. Actually, some people, after they tear their ACL, don't have to get reconstruction surgery. Some people just don't opt for it, don't want surgery. If you aren't particularly active, you can actually be okay without getting ACL reconstruction surgery. You just deal with it with physical therapy and like strengthening like muscles around it, and you just learn to deal with it. But for someone like me that's like pretty active and so young, it just made a lot of sense, and especially like athletes just would have to have it because you would always feel so unstable in your knee and your knee would buckle and it would just be bad. So that's just why I got surgery, and my orthopedic surgeon was obviously like, get surgery, you're 22. So that is why I got surgery. And I wrote down, I remember, because I want to be helpful, I was looking back at pictures and videos and stuff. I'll insert like videos and pictures throughout this video, but the actual surgery, obviously I remember nothing. I remember like appointments beforehand with my orthopedic surgeon, him saying, oh yeah, we actually have really good experience of just doing like local anesthesia. Like basically I was just going to get an epidural and maybe some like nerve block in my legs. I forget the other like specific things, but you're sort of like conscious, and that scared the heck out of me. And I was like, I don't want that. I want to be like out as much as I can be out. He was like, no, it'll be fine. And I remember him telling me that some people even kind of sit up and will like look on the screen and watch their surgery, and I was like, oh my god, dude, I so don't want that. But he was telling me that it was better for like recovery and pain management after, stuff like that. So I was just like, okay, like I just did what he told me. But actually, if you guys saw my vlogs or anything, I just went and looked back at videos and pictures. I did it, guys. This is so surreal that it's after my surgery. I'm like emotional because there's all sorts of drugs pumping through me, but I know it went really well, and road to recovery. And I thought I was gonna be kind of awake during it, but basically before they were gonna give me the epidural, they were like, we're just gonna put some drugs in your IV quick. It's gonna feel like you took a couple shots at the bar, and that is the last thing I remember. And then I just remember waking up. I remember nothing. I wasn't awake. Maybe I was like supposed to be, but I wasn't. I remember after with my orthopedic surgeon, him being like, this was you for the past 3 hours. Like I was just out. And I don't remember the epidural. I remember the anesthesiologist, whoever gives you that, was coming over telling me legally all the things about it, and it was freaking me the heck out. And I remember the last thing I remember was him saying, okay, we're just gonna give you a couple of drugs. It's gonna feel like you took a couple shots at the bar, and then we'll do the epidural, get it all going, whatever. And actually, Taylor and Max, for their surgery, I remember both of them saying that they felt so cold before, and they remember going into the OR and like laying on like the table and just like shaking and being like, I'm so cold, because they keep it really cold in there, obviously. But I don't even remember any of that. I don't remember the epidural, which thank God, because that's what I was the most scared about. It's literally like a needle in your back, you know, when you like have babies. I was so scared about that. But I know I had one, I just don't remember it, so that was kind of nice. And I woke up 3 hours later and I was just like, huh? Like I felt like I blinked my eyes, if any of you have been under anesthesia before. For me, that's what it feels like. It feels like I literally am like, and I just wake up and I look down and there's a leg brace on my leg, so that was that. So like obviously surgery wasn't bad because I don't remember it. Oh yeah, actually I remember them telling me how long it was gonna take, and I woke up and I was like, wait, it's later than they said. So I asked my orthopedic surgeon about it, and he was like, oh yeah, it took a little bit longer. There was only like one really small complication. Sometimes this is like pretty typical too. Obviously you get a MRI before and they're like, hey, you tore your ACL, like we knew. They didn't see anything else, like MCL, meniscus, any of that, but he's like, once we got in there, you had a small tear in your meniscus, but nothing too crazy at all. And usually when you tear your meniscus, it makes the recovery just a little bit harder. You're on crutches for I think like 4 weeks, he said. But for me, that like wasn't an issue. I thought that maybe I'd be on crutches longer, but I wasn't. 4 weeks after surgery, I actually was at Coachella. So if that gives you any indication, I just had a really easy recovery. So right after my surgery, when I woke up, I feel like I was just so out of it because obviously like all the drugs and whatever. And I just remember sitting there and I didn't even feel like I was cold, but my whole body was shaking. And they're like, don't worry, that's like so normal from the epidural, which I didn't even realize. And I think I was hiccuping or something. I don't know. It was so bizarre, and they just kept putting like warm blankets on me. My whole body was like shaking. I remember being with my mom and holding her hand and being like, mommy. Oh, and then I remember there was where I was like in this little recovery room, there was this big sign that said fall risk, and I had a bracelet on my arm that was yellow and said fall risk in all caps. And I remember my dad saying, oh, keep that bracelet, you can wear it when you go out to the bars in Boston, like LOL. Which is funny, but obviously you are at a high risk of falling or like re-injuring yourself or anything, because right after surgery you're just so like unstable. I remember them saying you can't leave until you go to the bathroom. I don't know why, like for some reason, like after surgery or something. And the nurse like had to go into the bathroom with me, and just what a humbling experience, you know. So oh, and I remember being so emotional. I was looking back at the videos I was filming of myself on Instagram story in the car ride home, and I was like crying. Like I feel like it was just all the drugs and the whole experience. But yeah, okay, going to be honest, I remember when I actually first told Max that I tore my ACL on the phone, he was like really upset, and I was like, dude, you're scaring the heck out of me that you're so upset right now, because you're making me feel like it's really, really awful. And he's like, I'm not gonna lie, like it's really tough, like one of the hardest things I went through, but like you'll get through it, da-da-da. And I feel like, I don't want to scare you, but like tearing your ACL and pre-surgery is nothing compared to the first week after surgery. Like week 1 is just the worst thing ever, like my own version of hell, but but after that it gets a lot better. So I wrote down week 1 is the worst, like literally the worst. You have your whole ice machine. I think pretty much everybody after ACL surgery, you gotta have this ice machine. Luckily Max went through it, and I got to steal all of his things. Like I literally used his leg brace, his crutches, his ice machine, because it gets so expensive. But basically it's just like this big cooler, and it like circulates cold water so that you can have 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off, I think is the protocol for ice. I don't even remember, it was like 5 months ago. And that way you're just icing it as you're supposed to, because the biggest thing after surgery is you have swelling for so long, like honestly weeks, like probably a month. My knee just had lots of swelling, and that affects your range of motion, all sorts of things in recovery. So yeah. ice machine. I grew up crying a lot. I would cry all the time just because I was so frustrated. In the first like 5 days I was just bedridden. Like I just like slept on the couch in our family room at home downstairs and just didn't move. But I mean, that's like the worst of it, and once you're past that, it's fine. So that was just like the worst thing ever. Oh, I wrote down the day after my surgery was probably the worst. It was so bad because the first day I was still like all drugged up, but then that night, the day after, is when it like hits you and you're like, my knee hurts so bad, you know? And I remember being on so much medication. I wrote down 4 medicines. I think these were 4. I don't remember, don't quote me, but it was on like a recurring schedule every couple hours. They give you oxy because obviously it's like an intense surgery. Ibuprofen, aspirin, and Tylenol. I think aspirin's a blood thinner, which you need to take to make sure you don't get a blood clot. Ibuprofen, Tylenol, they like all did different things. But oh yeah, as I was saying, the day after my surgery, I remember it was so bad. I was in so much pain, and the first couple of days, the only time I would become vertical from horizontal was to go to the bathroom. And they were like, you have to make sure you get up every couple hours to go to the bathroom because it's like important that you are like moving around at least a little bit. But every single time I would cry because my knee would hurt so bad. My mom would go to the bathroom with me and I'd cry and I'd cry and I'd hang on to her and she'd be like, oh baby. But I got through it. So okay, we're interrupting this video because Taylor came home, and I was just thinking, guys, worst comes to worst, I would say Taylor had the worst recovery of ACL surgery than any other human I've ever heard of. It probably took 2 years since your ACL was torn to like be normal or to like start working out. I don't even know.
Yeah.
It was just really, she just had a really, really bad tear.
Sorry, that's loud.
And no, it's okay. And so all I was gonna say is, worst comes to worst, even if that happens, like if you guys saw how she works out now, you know, if you like see my vlogs or whatever, she could run a marathon right now if you asked her to. Like she can run probably a 6-minute mile. Like you're so in shape.
I don't think so.
And I just remember, I was telling them in the vlog when I was running with you the other day, it was just so full circle because I remember your first run by the Charles River with me.
I think I died
like
there.
4 years ago. We might have gone 10 minutes and you couldn't do it because it was your first run back. Like that's how it's supposed to be. And now to see where you could go run, how many miles could you run in a row right now if I asked you to? 18?
I don't think 18.
Probably.
I could run over 14.
Yeah, like you know what I mean? So basically, if any of you are dealing with ACL recovery, don't be discouraged. Be like Taylor.
But I'm really proud of how fast you recovered.
I know. That's what I was telling
yesterday.
them.
Oh, I'm using this also.
Because
you were running yesterday or 2 days ago next to me.
Yeah.
And I was so impressed.
Aww.
And not like a slow, but like you were chugging.
I just had like an easy recovery.
No,
not like you.
No. You worked for it.
Yeah. That's what I told them. I just really prioritize physical therapy.
You always did it, no matter what.
And when I talked to, people were like, oh, if I could have done anything differently, I would have taken physical therapy more seriously. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take physical therapy really seriously.
Yeah, I think you did that, and that resulted in like...
And I told them positive mindset, baby. And...
Yeah. I don't think I had either of those. That's right.
No positive mindset.
I didn't do my exercises, negative. I didn't stretch, I still can't stretch.
No stretching. Not in the cards.
Probably wasn't very positive.
Please DM her and tell her how important stretching is. She's about to go work out. She's about to go run 11 miles.
Reach below my knees.
Not stretch. Basically, I had to go back to my orthopedic surgeon's office because they wanted, I feel like this didn't happen to most people. From like right after surgery for the first day, I had one type of brace, and then they put me into my like normal brace that I had for the rest of the month, like the next day. And then they didn't like take out my stitches or anything. They must have changed like my bandages, or I don't even know. They just wanted to see me the day after surgery. I feel like that's normal. And I just remember, like now it's so weird, I like basically forget, but I just remember my calf hurting so bad. Do you remember me saying that? My calf
so bad.
Was in so much pain, and I'm sure like a little bit, but they were like, we don't know why it's so bad. Like it was so bad, it was like unbearable. Like it hurt more than my knee. And I just remember my calf being like swollen and just so bad for so long. And it's just basically like when you have knee surgery, it just kind of messes up all the muscles in your leg and just yanks on everything around there. So I would just have like extreme calf pain, and I remember them worrying that it could be a blood clot, and those aren't too common after ACL surgery. They're pretty uncommon, but they're like, we just want to make sure it's not a blood clot. So then I remember I had to go to this other place to get an ultrasound on my leg. All was good, no blood clot, just like calf pain from ACL surgery, but I just remember that day being brutal, and I was just like, when I first got to the orthopedic surgeon office, whatever that place is called, I literally stole the receptionist's cranberry juice because I was sitting in a chair, like, and my mom was like, does anyone have juice? Like, I was about to pass out. And then when we went to the ultrasound place for my leg, I laid down on the ground in the lobby, like, so embarrassing, like fully horizontal. I just gave up. And then I think the ultrasound like technician girl, my mom, literally had to lift me up off the ground because I like couldn't move yet. It was the day after my surgery, and I was, yeah, it was just brutal, but like I got past it. That's just like something I remember. Oh, this is a really interesting video I found on my phone. So March 6th was the day of my surgery, and then March 8th or 9th, but I think it's the 8th, is the date of this video. And I remember I sat in a stool just like this in my kitchen, and I lifted up my leg a little bit, and which was just so like crazy to me because everyone was like, oh my god, you like can't pick up your leg anymore. Like, you look at it and you try to pick it up, but your body just like can't do it. And so I was just really proud of myself that, well, first of all, my brace was never locked. I know a lot of people have their brace locked for like the first week after their surgery or whatever. Mine was never locked. The day after surgery, he wanted me to start bending it right away to get going on my range of motion and make sure that I would be able to come back to a full range of motion. And I think I had full extension within like a week. Like, extension was never the problem, just flexion was like the issue. Bye, cheese and onions. Oh my gosh, this video they're gonna be like, what does cheese and onions mean? That's what we say as our goodbyes. Long story, inside joke. But yeah, so I could bend it to like 90 degrees probably like the day after my surgery, and I thought it was really cool that I could lift it like 2 days after. Not really a lot, just a little in my brace, but I thought that was really nice and a good indication that I would recover my quad strength, because I think a little bit of it was still there, and I attribute that to being in shape before my surgery and just doing so much physical therapy before my surgery too. Even before physical therapists, if you are pre-surgery for ACL, go on YouTube and look up pre-ACL surgery physical therapy, because that's what I did, and I would do those exercises like every day. I actually, in my ACL folder on my phone right now, have some of them. Maybe, you know what, I'll tell you them really quick. Exercises. This is so cute. This like really brings me back to February, and I was so adamant on them, and I would go to my gym in my old apartment complex all alone, and I would just do them. I did heel slides, like on the ground for like range of motion, quad squeezes to get my quad strength going, toe points on a roller, just again with like range of motion stuff. I would lift my heel with the roller, lift my heel without the roller, and then I would just put my heel on the roller and just let my leg sit like this, because it would help with extension. And yeah, I just did like little strengthening exercises like that. So I think that, you know, really helped with my easy recovery. Something else I wrote that was funny about the first week, like I really couldn't lift my leg. Like, I could a little bit in that stool, but I just remember, and I do it now automatically without thinking about it. I need to stop doing it. Like, when I sit down on the ground, I hold up my leg with my hand, when like now I'm strong enough to a point that I don't need to do that. But it was just like automatic for me. Like, I would get up off the couch and I would go like this, and I still do that by accident, even though I can like move my leg now. So that was really funny. I would lift my leg up with my hand, and my parents, if I would like need help like situating my blankets or whatever, they would like grab my brace and lift up my leg. Or I remember my dad was sitting at the end of the couch next to me like that whole week, which, not to get into it, but you guys know my dad passed away shortly after my ACL recovery. Ooh, I can't talk about this, I'm gonna cry. But he would sit at the end of the couch with me that whole week, and so that's why I know this whole thing was a blessing in disguise, because I got a full uninterrupted week, you know, bonding with my dad, and I just would not trade that for the world. But I remember he would grab my toes to like lift up my leg in the brace, and I'd be like, oh my god, Dad, you're hurting my leg, and we would like fight. But no, it was, yeah, I just thought that was really funny. Oh, I wrote, changing my clothes was the biggest deal. I think maybe 3 days after my surgery was finally when I was like, oh my god, I can't take it anymore. Like, you literally just are so gross laying on that couch, but that's just how it has to be, because you really aren't capable of like doing anything. And my mom helped me change my clothes, and I just felt like a new woman. And then 4 days after my surgery, I showered, because I think Max was gonna come visit me that day, and I was like, I need a shower, I'm so gross, Max is coming. So my mom really had to help me, and I remember so many people being like, Gretchen, be so careful, like one girl was like, my mom got a shower chair for me. Like, yeah, by all means, be really careful and, you know, lean on your parents with your ACL recovery, because you never realize, you know, how much you need them until they're changing your clothes for you and helping you shower. But I was like, gosh, Mom, I feel like a 5-year-old. You're helping me like pull up my shorts right now. This is just so, when's the last time you helped me get dressed, you know? No, so yeah. I think 4 days after was my shower, but it was like really pushing it and it was like tough for me. Oh yeah, and I think I said this before, just anytime I got up to go to the bathroom, I would cry. Just all I remember, like really specifically, is that I hated going to the bathroom. And this is really bad, don't do this, but I would specifically try to drink less water and like dehydrate myself. I was so thirsty, but I didn't want to drink water because I didn't want to go to the bathroom because that's how much it hurt. So yes. Oh yeah, extreme calf pain, like for a while, like for I would say a couple weeks. My calf was just terrible. I remember I would lay with it up on the wall like this, because that's what Max told me, because it would help like the blood go down to my leg. It was so swollen, and I would lay there and he would go like this with my leg, and it would just kind of provide some relief a little bit, but it was bad. I remember like, oh my god, this video is gonna be so long. I just want to help you guys. Like, this probably only applies to a specific few of you, but even if this doesn't apply to you, maybe it's interesting. So thanks for staying with me if you're still here. I remember like 5 days after my surgery, I ditched the crutches, which is probably pretty early, like probably not recommended, but I started weight bearing right away. My doctor was like, start weight bearing right away because you want to be able to walk, and listen to your doctor, because for some people that's just not the case. Like Max and Taylor waited a lot longer. My friend Abby was like, dude, I didn't get out of bed for like a month. Like, some people it's just way different. If you tear your meniscus, I know it's typically like 4 weeks on crutches, no weight bearing at all, but for me, he was like, start weight bearing. So I think like maybe 3 days after is when I first started, and then like 5 days after my surgery, I was like, I can kind of hobble around, and I just hated being on crutches, because you guys know how annoying crutches are if you've been on them. So ditch the crutches. So this is 5 days post-op. I've been working on my walking, and I think I'm supposed to have my crutches for at least 10 days, but it's mostly mental at this point. So ready, guys? This is what I've been working on. And honestly, with the brace, I feel like way more supported, so it's like, it's really okay. Like, this is so funny. This is gonna be really funny to look back at when I look at me walking like an old grandma. I need to document my journey. And if I keep my knee a little bent, it feels like more stable than if I try to straighten it all the way. I would like walk around like this, and Max would like stand in front of me and like hold my arms. He was like my walker. I wrote down, I limped for a while. I remember I would always ask Max and Taylor, when am I gonna walk normal again? When am I gonna walk normal? And they'd be like, I don't remember. But I wanna say it was around like 4 weeks until I really could walk normal again. And I remember I would get really upset. I would meet subscribers, and I remember meeting subscribers and then being like, oh, we knew it was you because we saw you limping and like you just had surgery. And I remember one time I got really upset. I was like, wait, you mean it? I was limping? Like, I thought I wasn't limping anymore. Like, I thought I was all good. I swore I walked normal. And they're like, oh no, like, it wasn't that bad. Like, you look fine. And I was like, oh, dang it. Like, I'm definitely still limping. But you just gotta be patient with the whole process. Oh, I wrote down loose skin because, okay, honestly, the scariest thing with ACL surgery is like muscle dystrophy, I think is what it's called, and you just lose your muscles because, I don't know why, maybe because you don't use them for like a couple days because you're literally bedridden and they just like disappear, or like something with the surgery. I don't know, it happens to everybody. Your quad gone, hamstring pretty much gone, calf, and it's weird because everybody just thinks it's hamstring, but in physical therapy I learned you really have to focus on like hamstring, calf string, is that what it's called? Hamstring, calf, and quad. So it's like all 3 of those. And I remember Mandy and Lucy first seeing me after surgery, like maybe a week or 2 later, and being like, oh my god, you're not eating, like you need to eat. And I'm like, no, like my left leg is so skinny and my thighs don't touch because my left leg is just a pencil because I don't have a quad anymore. Don't worry, it'll come back. And I posted my Instagram story the other day. It was just so funny how small my left leg was, and it just looked like a hot dog. And it was weird because my like thigh area was so skinny, but right here was like a balloon because it was so swollen. So it was just all sorts of like funky. And yeah, so I had like loose skin because my leg just like shrunk and my skin was all loose. It's still like not back to normal 100%, but okay, first day of physical therapy. So, sorry, this is just like a whole timeline and journey, but buckle in, guys. I started physical therapy exactly 1 week after my surgery, and I think some people start even sooner. Like Max was really lucky that he was playing hockey at Brown when he tore his. I mean, not lucky because he was playing hockey, so for like him the whole process was a lot harder because he was trying to get back into playing hockey and I didn't have something like hockey to get back to. But it was really nice because he had his personal trainer like with him every day that he already knew, and he might have started like the day after surgery, you know what I mean? But I started a week after, once I came back to Boston, and I remember just being so discouraged and you know, doing like preliminary testing and stuff and not being able to like move my leg or bend it that much or anything, and it was just so crazy to see like how far I've come. And I remember the first day her being like, all right, now let's go hop on the bike. And I was like, what do you mean hop on the bike? Like, I can't even like walk. Like, I like limp around in this brace. How am I supposed to bike right now? And I remember the first day I couldn't even get my legs all the way around a full motion on the bike because my knee wouldn't bend that much. So I would go like this on the bottom half of like the wheel, just back and forth, just kind of like move my knee. But I was like so proud of myself, and by like the next day or the day after that I could get all the way around. And I would sit in one of those bikes like this with like the backrest. I don't even know what those are called, and I think that's really funny. But yeah, it's just crazy how far I've come. I did PT like 3 times a week in the beginning, but then I would do it like every day. Like I would meet with my physical therapist like 3 times a week, but I would really do it every day because I knew how important it was, and that was just for like insurance reasons, just like how many visits I got or whatever. And yeah, she just was like, biking is going to be your best friend and it's going to help no matter what. It's going to help with your range of motion a lot. In the very beginning of physical therapy, your main focus is range of motion because you want to get it back as soon as you can, and it still takes a while, but you got to focus on that in the beginning because if you don't get it early on, you won't have it at all. You won't get back to like 100%. So I'm like at probably like 95%. Like after I stretch and stuff, I can get my heel to my butt, but it's basically like full range of motion now. And I wrote down kind of like a timeline that I looked up online. I think after 2 weeks you need like full extension in your leg, like fully straight. I never really had like a problem with that. I wrote lots of swelling. There was a lot of swelling for a while, and that affects your range of motion. So when you get like frustrated and stuff with your range of motion, it might just be because of this. Wow, I have so much to say. A lot of it has to do with the swelling, but also I remember talking to an orthopedic surgeon. I think when they first like put in your new ACL, oh, by the way, I never said this, I had a hamstring graft, so they took part of my hamstring in my left leg. And what's funny is like in the very beginning of recovery I really noticed it, but now like I don't at all. And I just remember it feeling like a part was missing, not to scare you, and you get it back. But yeah, so when they first put it in, I remember him saying like, I think it's like tight intentionally because it like stretches out and you get your full range of motion back, but that's why it takes time and you can't get it like the day after surgery. I remember, so the first time I went back to Seoul, I wasn't really ready, but I missed SoulCycle so bad, and I just knew I wanted to be in that room. And I had been biking, just not like, I couldn't like stand and keep up with a full class that was like really intense, 45 minutes of biking. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go. And I went with my friends. I went with KP and Louisa, and I think Addie too, and it was just like such a special moment. It was my first SoulCycle class back after my knee, and I sat in the back corner and I sat the entire class and I just pedaled at my own pace. Like I couldn't keep up with the class, I couldn't stand, nothing, but I just so wanted to be in the room. And I remember the Instagram picture I posted, and it was like 4 weeks after surgery, and even though I sat the whole time, hi Bubby, come, we're talking about knees. I had Taylor in it earlier too. Oh. I was telling them, even if worse comes to worse and your recovery takes 2 years, look where Taylor is now, she could go run a marathon. I was talking about my first SoulCycle class 4 weeks post-op. Remember when I sat the whole time, but I just wanted to like be in the room? Oh, I wrote down, so week 8 post-op. Max never heard of this, but I know this is a thing because my orthopedic surgeon told me too, and Lizzie, my physical therapist, told me. So we went really light that week, and I basically took it off of like hard exercise or soul, and I just did like physical therapy, range of motion type of stuff, because if I had a little graph to show you, like right as you get your surgery, I think your ACL is actually like really strong, like stronger than the other one for like a hot sec, but it doesn't matter because you're like bedridden. And then after that it gets like, I don't even know how to describe it, like looser and looser, and like the weakest it is post-op week 8 for whatever reason. And that's the week that like my orthopedic surgeon was like, you just have to be so careful in this like period of time, like kind of week 8 through 12. Hi Max, filming. You just have to be really careful because that's when someone like trips and falls or is like, oh, I feel good, like I can go play soccer or whatever, that's when they re-injure. So I had to be really careful that week. Just remember week 8 post-op, but obviously you'll be with a physical therapist that will tell you that. So I just think that's funny. So it kind of gets weaker to week 8 and then it like climbs and gets stronger throughout time, and it gets probably as strong as your other one after like 9 months or a year or whatever, and then at 2 years is when it's like stronger than your other one, because that's just how it works. Oh, I also wrote during your whole recovery, your leg strength and that wedding leg is like really important, and that's something that we would always work on. Just one leg things, like one leg squats will literally be the death of me, and you being here is making me nervous.
Oh.
What other one leg strengthening things did you do? Like one leg squats, like the one leg, like leg press for your quads. Any hamstring exercise is just so hard because I just have weak hamstrings. Calf raises, stuff like that, really fun. I also wrote down you'll do, so especially now, wait, I didn't even tell you. Okay, I'm almost 5 months post-op. Sorry, like I said, this is all over the place. But my last physical therapy visit officially with my physical therapist, Lizzie, was last week. And I cried, which is just, I knew I was going to. I was such a baby about it. But I just, basically how my insurance was, I had 30 physical therapy visits for the year, and that was my 30th one, and that was that. But it's totally okay because I'm like so far along in my recovery, and I actually just started meeting with a trainer today that's gonna help me continue on in my recovery, because I knew that I couldn't see Lizzie anymore just the way my insurance worked. But oh yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so my last like visit with her was last week, and I cried so much after, and I knew I was going to, because she just really was there for me through it all. And you get so close with your physical therapist, and just from day one of me being so discouraged and through my highs and my lows. And I remember writing down too, you'll have stagnant weeks and jump weeks. So there would be weeks where I would be like, Lizzie, my knee hurts, nothing's changed, my range of motion sucks, it's not getting any better, I'm so discouraged, my left leg is so weak, like I'm still limping, whatever it may be. And there would be weeks I'd be like, oh my gosh, like this doesn't hurt anymore when I do this. Or I remember like going like this, like the marching motion would hurt so much, and 1 week it just stopped hurting, and then 1 week after stretching enough I could get my heel to my butt, and it was just like a big jump. So there's weeks that are really up and down, and yeah, she was just with me throughout it all, and it was just like such a big experience in my life and journey that I went through. So yeah, after my last visit with her, I was just a crybaby in the car with Max, and he was like, what's wrong? And I was like, no, I just knew I would be like this. She was just there with me through it all, and especially after losing my dad, I was like, Gretchen, you know what, you can take this time to not go to physical therapy because this is like the worst thing that could possibly happen, or you could go to physical therapy because you know it's good for you, and daddy doesn't want you to not go to physical therapy. He wants you to be the best, happiest, strongest, healthiest version of yourself. Like, you should go. And so I kept with it, and yeah, we just really like bonded throughout this whole experience. So anyway, that's all I'm saying. Even though my physical therapy with her is over, I just started meeting with trainer Mike today, and yeah, so yeah, that's that. Sorry, I'm like all over the place right now. Where even was I? Oh, I wrote down you'll do lots of plyo, balance, strength, and then like stretching, range of motion stuff. So you're probably like, what is plyo? Because like I barely know, so I literally looked it up so I could explain it to you guys. Plyometrics, also known as jump training or plyos, are exercises in which muscles exert maximum force in short intervals of time with the goal of increasing power. So yeah, like basically jumping exercises. This is way later on. I wish I could tell you the first day that I started jumping, not too long ago, probably within like a month or two, because you just have to make sure your ACL is healing enough, and at that point that you can start jumping. But I had a very good like timeline for physical therapy. I was never pushed too far. I was never like really hurting, and we always waited until I knew I was ready for certain things. So another thing I wanted to talk about is the like rule of thumb after ACL surgery is just 3 months, like period, for running, and you can't really start running before that because your ACL just isn't healed enough. But like for me, for someone who didn't run that much before, like there's been periods of time in my life where I was like really into running or could run like a half marathon or whatever, but in the past year I wasn't running that much, so I wasn't really in a rush to start running again. Just I started to be like, oh my god, I haven't been able to run for like 3 months. Like I, you know, want to go for a jog on the treadmill or outside or whatever. So I actually, the first time I did a little jog after my ACL surgery was, I think, the day that that was like 4 months post-op. So I waited an extra month, but that was fine for me. And like I said, I wasn't in a rush. And just know that it's like not a rush through physical therapy. Like everything takes time. The healing of your ACL takes time. You can't really, you know, speed up the process too much or like accelerate it, because your ACL is going to take as much time as it needs to heal, and you know what I mean. But yeah, basically like how I have my exercises broken up into now that I'm like doing them more on my own / with somebody new is plyo, like jumping, stuff like that is really important. And typically I would do that before strength because that can get kind of tiring and you need focus, and it kind of is with like balance too, with like jumping up and down and side to side. So I do that, and then I'll do like strength, a lot of one leg stuff with like leg press or one-legged squats, split squats, stuff like that to help with strength. Balance is really important, and it's so funny in PT I would stand on like a broken foam, so it was kind of like a wobbly surface, and I would throw a ball at a trampoline and catch it, and I'm like, what am I even doing? This just seems like fun. But you got to do a lot of like balance stuff because it just affects so much when you get a new ACL. And we would do like eyes closed balance stuff, tapping cones, fun stuff. Oh, I wrote stretching and range of motion. Like I said earlier, TKs are the best thing ever. You're basically standing and you have like a little band around your knee and you're just pushing it back like that, and I think it just like stretches it out and just makes it feel really good. And range of motion, like I said from the beginning, is like the #1 thing, and once you have it back, it's really great because then you have full range of motion with your knee. And like mine still hurts, like that hurts, like getting it all the way hurts, but I know in time it won't. So yes, I wrote be patient. And for someone who isn't patient like me, it's really hard because I'm somebody that like wants something and wants it now, and I'm just so like spontaneous and like, you know what I mean, that I'm not patient. And I remember actually this happening, and my parents are always like, Gretchen, you're so go, go, go. And like things happen, like you get sick or you tear your ACL because it's the world being like, slow down. So it was really, I mean, I guess like teaching moment in my life for me to slow down and focus on my health and just prioritize like me and my whole healing process. And so I think it did teach me patience in a way, because now it's 5 months later and I'm like, wow, look at how far I've come, you know? And like now how I see the whole thing is obviously so much more in a positive light than how it was in the beginning, and I'm like feeling a lot better. I wrote, obviously it's a lot harder if you're trying to get back to a sport. Like I said earlier, I waited till 4 months to run, and it's 19 weeks today post-op. So yeah, it's just crazy that it's almost 5 months. Oh, I actually wrote, I don't know why this is at the bottom, but yeah, I probably had my brace on for like a month, if you're wondering. Oh my god, this video is all over the place, I already know. But I actually remember reading right after surgery, and my orthopedic surgeon was kind of had the same ideas, that having a brace after ACL surgery, I was reading, is actually pretty controversial. And some doctors or physical therapists or whatever will be like, keep it on for however long of a time. And then some people are like, you don't need it. Like he would say pretty soon after my surgery, like I didn't need it to walk around in if I was just at home or like to sleep in or whatever. But I probably kept it on for like a month, and my physical therapist was like, just so that I feel good about it, or if God forbid if you fell or anything. I did feel a lot more stable and comfortable with it for a while, just because it kept everything like in line and more like protected and safe. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting, that like the use of a brace post ACL surgery is kind of like not up to you, but like to your doctor's discretion. Wow, I had a lot to say, didn't I? I realized I was probably all over the place, and I just wanted to kind of talk you through my journey and I don't know, like specific like time periods of things that would happen, and I don't know, I'm probably leaving things out. Obviously, if you guys have questions, leave them down below. And I'm so sorry if you tore your ACL and you're about to go through surgery or the whole like recovery process, or if you went through it, you obviously know how tough it can be, but just know that like you will go get through it. And I hope any of my videos where I've talked about it can help you out, and just know how important physical therapy is and listening to your doctor, because everybody has like kind of a different approach to it, and there'll be certain things that your doctor will want you to do that maybe I didn't do, or physical therapist, you know what I'm saying? But overall, I just had, it feels weird saying I had a really positive experience during my ACL, but just like with recovery and surgery as a whole. And I don't know if this is weird, but obviously, I mean, honestly, I don't care. Like, if you are in the Albany area, because I had my surgery where I'm from Albany, New York, like upstate. And if you're there and you tore your ACL, please go to Dr. Ali. That's his name. That was my doctor, because he did such a great job, and I just had, like I said, the easiest, most positive experience. And he's just the best guy. I've known him for a while too, so I'm biased. He's like one of my good friends' dads. One of my good friends' dad, not dads. He doesn't have more than one dad. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. And yeah, if you're wondering, Dr. Ali, it was my doctor, and I did physical therapy. So this probably wouldn't apply to you, but I had surgery there because that's where I'm from, but then I did physical therapy at Boston University because that's where I went to school, and it was just right there, so it was so convenient at the Ryan Center. So maybe some of you, if you're from Boston, you can go to physical therapy at the Ryan Center, because I would really recommend. It was like a really good place to have physical therapy. But then if you're from New York, Dr. Ali was really good. Or just go wherever your doctor wants you to go, or your parents. But I just thought I would share that in case you're wondering, because I feel like I've gotten that question. And yeah, where I am now is I'm good, and I'm working out pretty regularly. Like what I was doing before was Soul, and I told my physical therapist before I left physical therapy officially that she was like, okay, how do you feel about going to Soul Cycle? Like, how confident do you feel, or like, does it feel like before, like from a scale of 1 to 10? And I was like, honestly, a 9.5. It gets like tired after, a little bit more sore, but good overall. And I'm up to like 15-20 minutes of running, which obviously I'll get better at running and be able to add more time as I go on. But yeah, I just kind of want to talk to you guys about my whole journey, and it's just crazy that I like feel so good now, and that I've gotten so far, and that it's already 5 months later. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, leave them down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.